Hey guys, Loot Wizard here with another video on Gems of War. In this one, we're going to be going over the troops for this week in the Soulforge. What's worth crafting, what isn't. So, let's start with the summoning stones for Blue Day. I don't recommend trying to go for anything because none of these are really that great. For green, the only one I can really recommend out of here is Moon Rabbit. Moon Rabbit's actually pretty good with a lot of teams right now. So if you don't have Moon Rabbit, you could try to go for that one. But that's not really a troop that's going to make or break a game. For the Red Day summoning stones here, yeah, I can't recommend anything from here either, except maybe Valkyrie. Um, it's a green troop, so you can get these out of gold keys. But for whatever reason, if you haven't been lucky enough to get the Valkyrie troop yet, this would be a good opportunity to get it. What it does is it transforms a selected mana color to blue, and then it will gain a certain amount of souls based on your magic. It also has Waterlink in its traits, which allows for an extra bonus to blue mana, which is going to be transforming a selected mana color to blue. So that is really good synergy with that troop. So yeah, I would recommend Valkyrie out of the red summoning stones. For yellow, we have not really anything great either. Yeah, none of these are really that good. For purple, for Purple Day, yeah, there's really nothing great in purple either. Finally, for brown, yeah, we really don't have too much here either, except, well, Gob Chomper has a 50% chance to devour a goblin enemy, and it can start at full mana if it's fully traded. So sometimes you get pet rescues where the entire team is that you're facing is goblins. So this troop is pretty useful for that. Other than that, if you want to max out your bomb bots and get them to legendary or mythic, then you can get three of them here. So yeah, probably out of Brown Day, I would say Gob Chomper and then maybe Bombot are the ones that you really want to go for out of this. None of the other ones really are that great. But yeah, so that's it for the summoning stones this week. Now let's go into the legendary and mythic troops. First up, we have Gloomleaf, which is a legendary troop. What it does is deals 15 armor, or whatever armor is multiplied by your current magic, and 4 attack from all enemies. When it's fully traded, it does reflect 50% skull damage. So, that's Gloomleaf. Bunny Nog, it's not really that great either. Deals a certain amount of damage, 25 for me, to an enemy. If the enemy is a knight, it deals double damage, and there's a 50% chance to devour knights. It can start with 50% mana, and it does do 5 times skull damage to knights. Now, I never really use this troop. It really just never finds a place in any of my teams. Same thing for Gloomleaf, so I can't recommend those two. But Garnock is the legendary card for orcs. Now, orcs really are not that great. They're really not that great. Now, there's certain times early game where if you do have Garnock here with a few other orc troops, it can be a pretty good team. But into later game, it's just not a great. They're really not that great troops. But what this legendary troop does is it allows all orcs to start with 50% mana if you do trade it fully. And what it does is it deals 1 true damage to all allies, and then it creates 7 red and 7 brown gems, both boosted by orc allies, and the ratio is 1 for 1. So if you have 4 orc allies, in your team, if you have an all orc team, what that's going to do is it will create 11 red and 11 brown gems. And then also it has the ability to summon a random orc if there is a place for it. So Garnock is actually a pretty good legendary, but is it worth crafting for 800 diamonds? No. No, it's not. So then the final legendary that we have for this week is the Dragon Soul. Which, if you don't have the Dragon Soul yet, it probably is barely worth the 800 diamonds. But honestly, you can get enough souls with troops like Valkyrie, Banshee, and there's even a weapon, the Phylactery, which if you use a few of those troops together, you can still get a lot of souls. So it's the Dragon Soul really isn't a game breaker until you combine it with troops like Pharaoh's Ra to get quick souls. So I would say the only legendaries that are somewhat worth crafting is the Dragon Soul this week. But again, 800 diamonds, it's probably better to save your diamonds for a mythic. Now, moving on to mythic cards this in the Forge here this week, we have Wulfgarrick, we have Ketras the Bull, we have Ubistet, and we have War. So, out of these four, I would say that Ubistet's probably number one. I use Ubistet, fairly often in PvP, quite often in Guild Wars. Ubistet, what he does is he deals 21 damage to the two weakest enemies, boosted by all ally and enemy attack. So, his damage is boosted by all ally and enemy attack. If one of the enemies dies, and this is the important part of his ability, if one of the enemy dies, then kill the other one. So it's pretty much a guaranteed lethal kill if he kills one troop. So even if the other troop has barrier, like let's say there's two troops left on an enemy team. You have a Dawnbringer, and you also have another troop in there. You get the other troop down to, let's say, 40 health or so, and then you hit it with Ubistet, and it instantly kills that one. It'll automatically just kill the Dawnbringer, even if the Dawnbringer has a barrier on it. So, I really like Ubistet. It has a 24 mana cost, red, yellow, and brown. Once you fully trade it, all ally Raksha gain 1 attack and magic at the start of every turn. It is a Raksha itself, so it will be giving itself 1 attack and magic at the start of every turn, which will increase its damage here. So Ubistet's really good. Second to Ubistet, if you already have him, is Ketras the Bull. Ketras the Bull is definitely worth crafting if you already have Ubistet, and if you already have other mythics like Infernus and Phoenicia and a few other of those mythic cards that are really good. But here's what Ketras the Bull does. He deals 5 damage. Now this is just the base damage without leveling it up. But it deals damage to an enemy boosted by its own attack, life, and armor. And then it does half of that damage to adjacent enemies. So this is and the ratio is 2 for 1. So what it does is it basically takes all of the attack, all of its life, and all of its armor. Then it divides that in half, and then that is added to its damage. So this can be a pretty powerful troop if you have other troops in your team that boost any of the life, armor, or attack. So, for example, there's certain troops that will actually boost one's attack by the amount of armor that you have. Or you have troops like Divinia, which is a dragon troop, which will give life to all allies when it explodes. So there are definitely ways to boost the attack on Ketras the Bull, and he's pretty good in PvP and also in delves and some events. So And one thing to note too is that it is considered a divine troop, which if you combine it with the legendary card Ishbala, which allows divine troops to start at 40% mana, then this troop can start at 40% mana. Also, it is a Tauros, which will, there is the Shaman class, which allows all Tauros to start at 50% mana. So you also have that option to get this mythic troop starting at 40 or 50% mana. So yeah, I would recommend getting Ubistet, crafting it for 4,000 diamonds. If you don't have that yet, if you already have Ubistet, I would say go for Ketris the Bull. So yeah, that's my recommendations for troops this week. And one thing also to note before I end the video is that in the shop this week, we do have a really good weapon. It's called Sun and Moon. And this weapon is something that I think you can only get here in the shop. What it does is it deals 20 damage to all allies, and it gives 1 magic to all allies. But what's also important is that its color is purple and yellow. So I don't think that we really have a weapon that has the purple-yellow combination that does damage to all enemies except for Sun and Moon. So it's not a make or break kind of weapon. You can get other weapons with just gems, through playing the game without spending real money. Like I would say some of the Doom Skull weapons are better than this weapon, and you can get those simply by buying them with gems. But this weapon is also really good. I think that it probably is worth the $5 if you're collecting good weapons. You might not have another chance to get this Sun and Moon weapon for maybe another year. So it's in the shop this week. If you want to go ahead and support the developers and buy a pretty decent weapon, this week actually does have a good weapon. And you'll also get 25 VIP points for buying it as well. Plus you'll get a few little bit of resources here. Alright guys, that's going to wrap up this week's video on what to forge and the Soulforge, what to craft there, and what to get there in the shop. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later.